Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank the Prime Minister for the advance copy of the statement that she's just given us. Funnily enough, Mr. Speaker, I too was in Brussels last Thursday, meeting socialist leaders and their counterparts. Well, I have to say, I was given a little longer to speak than the 5 minutes the Prime Minister had at the dinner that evening, and I had it at a more reasonable time of the day.
And listened to.
And indeed, I was listened to very carefully by all those around the table. I made it clear, Mr. Speaker, to the other leaders that Britain should continue to be a full and active member of the European Union until negotiations on our exit are complete. I think the Prime Minister was trying to send the same message, but the manner in which she conveyed it was rather different, as she seemed to be not trying to build the consensus that's necessary or to shape a future relationship with the European Union that is beneficial to everybody. She had a very different approach. Mr. Speaker, the message that came to me loud and clear from European leaders last week was the tone taken by this Tory government since their Tory party conference early this month has damaged our global reputation and lost us a lot of goodwill, not just in Europe, but around the world. And although the Prime Minister's words may have appeased the hardline voices behind her, they've only spread anger and resentment all across Europe by the approach that she and her party have taken. I do not believe we'll get the best deal for this country by using threats, hectoring or lecturing of the European Union. If for these negotiations to succeed, the government frankly needs to adopt a slightly more grown-up approach. For negotiations to succeed, Britain needs a plan. And what is clear to everybody, from European leaders, non-governmental organisations and business, is that quite clearly the government doesn't have one. So, can the Prime Minister tell the House if any progress has been made since the Council meeting last week? Is she willing to tell us if access to the single market is a red line for her government or not? The Prime Minister has made it clear she wants to end freedom of movement, but hasn't been clear to business what will be taken in its place, causing uncertainty for business and for the many EU nationals who reside in this country and make such a great contribution to our economy. And can she also tell us if her government is supporting moves by senior Conservatives to amend the Great Repeal Bill by adding a sunset clause, allowing ministers to strip away EU laws on workers' rights and environmental protection in the years that succeed the exit from the European Union? And also tell us how the government plans to make up the shortfall of funding to those regions resulting from the loss of structural funding to vital capital programmes all over this country. One week the Secretary of State for Britain exiting the European Union will say one thing, the next week the Chancellor will say another. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister says very little other than Brexit means Brexit, and we won't provide a running commentary. The rest of the world looks on and concludes Britain hasn't got a clue. The truth is, this isn't a soft Brexit or even a hard Brexit. It is simply a chaotic Brexit. Because with all this uncertainty and all these mixed messages, day by day, confidence in this economy falls, and the British people become more worried about their future. 2 weeks ago, the Treasury said that leaving the single market would lead to a £66 billion loss to the economy. The trade deficit is widening. The value of the pound has already fallen by 18%. Seeing industries, including the auto industry and others, delaying vital investment decisions and the banking sector looking to relocate. This indecision and poor economic management is starting to hit our economy severely, weakening the hand as we walk into the most important negotiations for many generations. Mr. Speaker, we on this side of the House respect the referendum result and we accept that Britain must leave the European Union. We also understand that this will be a monumental exercise, with the decisions made now affecting the lives of British people for years to come. the Prime Minister appeared to be making some sort of concession about parliamentary scrutiny. In a reply, I'd be grateful if she would explain exactly what the nature of these debates were going to be each side of the Christmas recess. We as an opposition will not just stand by and let this government choose the terms of Brexit unopposed. It's our duty to scrutinise and our duty to make sure this government does have a Brexit plan for this country, not just a Brexit plan for the Eurosceptics behind her. And we will continue to push for this Parliament to have a very full say in this matter, whatever happens in the debates around the Christmas recess. Today, Mr. Speaker, the French authorities begin the formal closure of the Calais camp. And I would like to take this opportunity to welcome those children that have already arrived in this country, as well as others that have family connections. This camp, Mr. Speaker, and I've seen it for myself, has become a hellish place where a few of the world's most vulnerable people have come to try and survive and call it their home. Yet it still remains unclear what process and timetable her government is working under to bring refugee children here who are entitled under international law and the Dubs II Amendment to refuge in the UK. I reiterate the urgency of the letter I sent to the Prime Minister last week to personally intervene in our country and to be open and accommodating to those children. I'm grateful to the reply I received an hour ago to my letter, but I'd be grateful if the Prime Minister could indicate something more precise about the timetable for allowing children and others who have family connections to come to this country, and that Britain does not evade its responsibility in helping those that have suffered the biggest global displacement since the end of World War II. This displacement is primarily caused by atrocities in Syria, and we utterly and totally condemn indiscriminate bombing. The only solution in Syria is a political one. Mr. Speaker, these issues are the ones future generations will look back on when it comes to defining this political generation. If we continue to approach the challenges we face in a divisive and aggressive manner, they will only grow larger. We can instead work together in this House with our European partners and the rest of the world. We may quickly find the large problems we face today appear smaller than we first thought if we work together to help those desperate people all around the globe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm tempted to say to the right honourable gentleman, he talked at the beginning of his response to my statement that he'd been over in Brussels last Thursday meeting with various socialist leaders who were listening to him. I suppose from his point of view it's good to know that somebody is listening to him. Can I address the first two? Can I address the last two issues that he referred to? He talked about Calais. As I said in my statement, and as he will know, my right honourable friend, the Home Secretary, will be making a statement on Calais and on our response in relation to unaccompanied minors and bringing children here into the United Kingdom, with detail in that. All I will say now is this. We have been working very carefully for a considerable time now with the French government, both to improve matters in relation to Calais, but also to ensure that we were abiding by our requirements under the Dublin regulations to bring children here, unaccompanied minors here to the UK who had family links here in the UK. That process has speeded up. We have put extra resource in it from the Home Office, and we have seen more children being brought here. We have also adopted a scheme to bring 3,000 vulnerable children from the region, from the Middle East and North Africa, here to the United Kingdom, working with UNHCR. And we are putting in place the Dubs Amendment, which of course, the Immigration Act proposals, which of course required us first to negotiate and discuss with local authorities about their ability to receive children here in the United Kingdom. Because the overriding aim of every one of us in this House should be to ensure that it is in the best interests of the children that are being looked at and being dealt with. And it is no help for those children if we are not able properly to provide for them when they come here into the United Kingdom. He didn't talk about the wider migration crisis, except a reference that he said that it was mainly due to Syrian refugees. Of course, what we've seen in the migration crisis is large numbers of people moving not from Syria, but mainly from parts of Africa, which is why the United Kingdom has consistently been arguing for more work upstream to stop the numbers of people coming through and ensure that people have got opportunities in source and transit countries rather than requiring to come here to the United Kingdom. In relation to Russia, he made a reference to the indiscriminate bombing in Aleppo. I assume in that he's referring to Russian action as well as he is to Syrian regime action. It was important that we, as UK, put this matter on the table, on the agenda of the European Council, and they made the agreements that they did. And then if I just come on to the issue about the Brexit arrangements, he referred to the tone that has taken place since the Conservative Party conference. I have to say to the right honourable gentleman that what I found when I was in the European Council last week was a number of European leaders actually commending the speech that I had given at the Conservative Party conference. Including, I have to say, one or two of the socialist leaders who might have been talking to him at the time. He says we don't have a plan. We have a plan which is not to set out at every stage of these negotiations the details of those negotiations, because that would be the best way to ensure we didn't get the best deal for the UK. He talks about free movement. I noticed that at the weekend his shadow foreign secretary once again refused to say what the Labour Party's position on free movement was and whether they would bring an end to it. And he talked about indecision. I have to say to the Leader of the Opposition, he couldn't decide whether we should be in or out of the European Union. He couldn't decide when we should be invoking Article 50. The only thing we do know about his position is that he would have unfettered immigration into this country, the very thing that the British people have told us they don't want. Unlike him, the Conservative Party is listening to the British people.